This video will cover section 1.7, reading metric micrometers. Okay, so the metric micrometer is going to look very similar to a standard micrometer. Again, the only way you're going to be able to tell is by looking at the anvil to see what the actual measurements are. So this is going to be in millimeters. So for the millimeters, a lot of people find it easier to read a metric micrometer than they do a standard micrometer, so that's good news. So our scale is going to be similar, or our scale is going to be different. We have a 0 here, just like we did before, and then we're just going to have something every other piece. But this is going to be a 0.50, so it's half, and then we have 1. So I'm going to put 2 decimals after, because with these you're going to have 2 decimal places, not 3. So I'm just going to kind of remind myself that that's how many decimals I need to go out to if I have to measure things. So this is half, and then this is 1, so then this is going to be 1.50. And then this is going to be 2, and 2.50, 3, and then we have 3.50, 4, 4.50, and then we have a longer line where you actually see the 5 written. So this is an easier scale. You've got all of your whole numbers are on the top and all of your halves are on the bottom. So just kind of be aware of that. It's not the same scale as we did for a standard. This is a totally different scale, and this is all in millimeters, not inches anymore. Okay, so we're in metric. So let's practice reading a few. And again, you can see here we are in 0.01 millimeters, so we've got just 2 decimals. Okay, so the first one right here, you can see you're at half, and then you're at 1, and then you're at 0. So again, we're just looking at these 2 markings. We're going to be adding them together. So this one's first. We add this decimal reading second. So again, half, 1. So this one's exactly 1.00 millimeters. And on your paper, if you just put 1, that's fine. I just want to make sure you understand that there are 2 decimal places for these. For this one, we've got 2 whole numbers, and I can see my half mark, and then I'm at 0. So I'm exactly at 2.5 or 2.50 millimeters. Okay, so for this one, we're out to 4. And I'm kind of debating, like, am I on the half or not? So I'm looking at this scale, and again, I'm on the upper end of the scale, which means I haven't quite hit this half mark. When I get to the 0, I'll be at a half. So I'm just going to count this. So it's going to be 4. I'm going to do my 0.00. Then I'm going to add that 30 into the decimal pieces. So I have 4.30 millimeters as my final reading. So again, you're going to look at this scale here to see how close you are to the 0, and the higher the number, the more likely it is not quite at that marking yet, that you're almost there. So again, you're going to use that as your final decision. Okay, so here we've got this next one. We're at 5 definitely, and I can see the 50 quite clearly, so 550 is where I'm going to start. Then I'm going to add, and these don't have any markings we're ignoring, we're just looking at every single marking. So we're going to read up 10, 11, 12, 13 is what we're going to add. Remember, that's the decimal piece. So when we add this together, keep the decimals in alignment, we have 5.63 millimeters. Okay, for the next one, we're at 7. You can see that there's 2 markings here clearly after the 5, so we're at 7. And then, again, I'm not quite at that half mark because, again, look how close I am to becoming that 0. So again, the higher on the scale these numbers are, the less likely it is to mean that you're at that half. Plus, you can barely see that line. By the time we get to that 0, we'll see the line more clearly. So this is just going to be 7 7.34 millimeters. I was past the 5. here's the 7, and here's the 34, which lines up the most closely. Okay, so here I can see 15 and I can see the 16 clearly, but I can't see any of the half marks. So I'm at 16, but just at 16. So I'm going to be 16. And then I'm going to measure what line this is at, which is actually 9. So remember that the reason I'm putting in the 2 decimals is because whatever I have here has to line up on the very end. So really that's what I'm looking at. So when I add these two measurements together, I have 16.09 millimeters, not 90. So be really careful where you put that digit in your measurements. Okay, let's look at one more here. So here you can see it goes out to higher numbers. We've got 24 definitely. So I've got 24 as my whole number. And again, do you see how I'm almost to the 0, but I'm not quite there? So I can see that half mark, but once I'm past the 0, then I'm going to count it as half. Before the 0, especially closer to this end, I'm not going to count it as half. So I'm going to count it as 45, and then 46, and it's right on that 47 line. So it's 24.47 millimeters. You can get more practice reading these photos in week 4. I have them separated by micrometers and by dial calipers and by vernier calipers. So if you go into week 4, you're going to see these particular photos with the answers at the bottom that you can practice reading.